It was a brutal tragedy that unfolded in West Kingston, Jamaica in the mid-1980s. A Chinese-Jamaican family of 4 was wiped out by heartless criminals, causing shock and disbelief. This is the story of the Lou family murders. 40 years later, I explore this painful tragedy. In this video, I look at the death registration form of each victim to reveal how they were killed. Plus, I take you on a visit to their graves. This video was requested by Ray Fear, one of the viewers of this channel. I am Nigel D. Salmon. Welcome to Jamaican Chapter. It was Sunday, September 16, 1984. In the wee hours of that Sunday morning, many citizens across the island of Jamaica were asleep, including the Lou family. The Lou family consisted of Vincent Lou, age 49, his wife, Christine Lou, age 37, their son, Peter Lou, age 15, and daughter, Linda Lou, age 13. The family lived at 26 Spanish Town Road in downtown Kingston. The building in which they resided served as both a residence and business place. The family lived on the upstairs, while the downstairs was where they operated their business called Coronation Bakery. In the wee hours of Sunday morning of September 16, 1984, the entire family was asleep on the upstairs. On the outside, a small group of men, it could have been 3, 4, 6, the exact number of them unknown. These men had targeted the Lou family. The men scaled up a foul cube against the side of the building, climbed onto some boxes, then jumped onto the balcony. From there, they forced open a door to where the family was sleeping. The Lou family was surprised by the intruders, but there was nothing they could do successfully to escape the situation. One of the men had already pulled a revolver and holding it in his hand. The exact order of how the following activities occur is not clear, but the following happened. All the members of the Lou family were tied up. The family dog, which had begun barking on the downstairs, was shot in the head, probably the first fatality of that early Sunday morning. The men pried open an iron safe, stole money, and ransacked the place. Before leaving the building, the men shot each member of the Lou family, killing them instantly. Indication that something bad had happened was very clear when there was no activity from the Lou family on the Monday morning, September 17, 1984. Mr. Vincent Lou was a punctual businessman. So when his business, Coronation Bakery, was not opened as usual, concerns ran high. The tied up and lifeless bodies of the Lou family were discovered by police officers. The police discovery of the bodies became a spreading and shocking news across downtown Kingston and beyond. A crowd of shocked and curious individuals gathered in front of the building. Soon there were expressions of anger regarding the killings. Prime Minister Edward Seaga, who was also a member of parliament for the area, condemned the actions of the killers and called for swift investigation to catch them. With no hesitation, the police investigation began. 7 men became suspects in the homicides investigation, but none was charged and convicted. Being a suspect in a crime like this is very dangerous. One suspect was shot dead by police in the parish of St. Elizabeth. The body of another suspect was found on a handcart in West Kingston. Despite the intense police investigation, 40 years later, no one was formally charged and convicted. So how was the Lou family killed? To answer this question, let's examine the death registration form of each family member. This is the death registration form of Vincent Lou. I will look at this form by starting at the top of the form. At the top of the form, it says death registration form, death in the district of Kingston, parish Kingston. Then in the first section, it says place of death, 26 Spanish Town Road, Kingston. In the other box beside it, it says usual residence of deceased, and they wrote 26 Spanish Town Road, Kingston. So as I've said before, the family lived on the same building from which they operate their business called Coronation Bakery. And we will see this with other Chinese families where they live on the same building where they operate their business. So Vincent Lou and his family were doing just that. They were living on the same building from which they operated Coronation Bakery. Going down on the form here, we look at the left of the form, and it says particulars of deceased. Date of death, 16th September 1984. Below that it says full name, and they wrote Vincent Lou. Below that we have condition, and they put married. So yes, he was a married man. Below that we see age, and they put 49 years old. Below that we see occupation or calling, and they wrote businessman. Yes, indeed. He was the owner and operator of Coronation Bakery there at 26 Spanish Town Road, Kingston. Below that, we see birthplace, and they wrote China. So, Mr. Vincent Lou, he was born in China. And of course, then he came to Jamaica, set up business, began raising his children here. We now look over on the other side where we look at the cause of death. Here on the right, we see cause of death. And they wrote shock and hemorrhage as a result of gunshot injury to the head. Let me put that up on the screen so we can see it. Cause of death, shock and hemorrhage as a result of gunshot injury to the head. So, Mr. Vincent Lou, he was shot one time in his head. He was killed by a single shot to the head from a revolver. Let's look at his wife's death registration form. This is the death registration form for Christine Lou. I'm gonna just go into her particulars and then go into the cause of her death, because everything else, such as the place of death, usual residence, is the same. They were living at 26 Spanish Town Road, Kingston, and they died at 26 Spanish Town Road, Kingston. So looking at her form, I'm gonna go right into her particulars. And here it says, particulars of deceased, date of death, 16th September 1984. Full name, Christine Lou. Condition, married. Age, 37. In this section where it says occupation or calling, they wrote wife of Vincent Lou, businessman. Yes, she was Vincent Lou's wife, and she was also the mother of the house. In fact, when police went to the scene of the crime, they noticed how neat of a mother she was. The children's clothes were all ironed out. Their uniforms to go to school were all ironed out. Books were on the table. A suggestion that the mother and father were ensuring that the children were studying. So they might have been studying before going to sleep. So they saw how hardworking she was as a mother, ironing the children's clothes for the next day, which would have been Monday. So, yes, she was wife, mother, and no doubt assisted in the operation of Coronation Bakery. Going down on the form, we see birthplace, and they wrote Hong Kong. So she was born in Hong Kong, and her husband Vincent was born in China. So she was born in Hong Kong, and her husband born in mainland China. Let's now go over to the section to look at the cause of her death. And here in this section it says, cause of death, shock and hemorrhage as a result of gunshot injury to the head. It reads the same way as her husband's. Christine Lou, an innocent woman, and everybody else in her family were also innocent, was shot in her head. She was killed by a single shot to the head from the same revolver used to kill her husband. And remember that the entire family was tied up at this time. So Christine Lou was killed by a single shot to her head. Let's now go and look at the death registration forms of the children, starting with Peter. This is the death registration form for Peter Lou. Again, I will just go into the particulars of decease and then I go into cause of death because all the other information are the same. So here on the left of the form it says particulars of deceased. Date of death 16th September 1984. Full name Peter Lou. Below that we see condition and they put nil because condition means marital status. Peter was still a teenager, he was not married, so his marital status of course would have been single. I could put single there. Below that we see age and they put 16. It's actually 15. You will see what I mean in the other section of the video when I go to their graves. But Peter was 15. So age 15. Occupation or calling, they put nil. He was not yet in the world of working. He was, at the time that Peter died, he was a fourth form student of St. George's College. Yes, he was a student, a fourth form student of St. George's College. So he was just a student. He had no occupation at the time. Below that it says birthplace and they wrote Kingston. Now let's go over to the section where you have the cause of death. So over on the right here, we will see cause of death. And they wrote, shock and hemorrhage as a result of gunshot injury to the head. It reads the same way as the death registration forms of his parents. Young Peter Lou was killed by a single shot to the head from the same revolver that killed his parents. Let's now go over to the death registration form of Linda Lou. This is Linda Lou's death registration form. It should never have been. At such a young age, this innocent little girl should not be having a death registration form written up for her. But the reality is the reality. Let's go into the particulars of decease, that section. Here in the section it says particulars of deceased, date of death 17th September 1984. Full name Linda Lou. Below that, you see condition, and they put nil. Of course, as I said, condition means marital status. She was not married. She was not divorced. She was, I don't even if you want to say single, because at such a young age, a matter of being single is not even an issue. So they put nil. But just to make it clear, she was single. Below that we see age, and they put 14. Again, you will see in the other part of this video coming up next that she was 13. They put 14 here, but she was actually 13. She died the month before her birthday. The month before her birth month. So she would have been 13. I'll show you that later. Below that it says occupation or calling, and they put nil. She was not a working person at the time. She was still a student. She was a student of Holy Childhood High School in Kingston. Holy Childhood High School is an all-girl school. So she was just a student. Below that we see birthplace, and they wrote Kingston. So it's obvious that Vincent Lou was born in mainland China. His wife, Christine, was born in Hong Kong. And they came to Jamaica. I'm not sure if they had gotten married here or they had gotten married maybe back in China. But they came here, they set up business, and they started their family. So their children, Peter and Linda, were born here. They were born here in Kingston. All right, let's go over now to Linda Lou's cause of death. And here on the right side, it says, cause of death, shock and hemorrhage as a result of gunshot injury to head. So you can see that on each death registration form, the cause of death is written with the same words. Shock and hemorrhage as a result of gunshot injury to head. So Linda Lou was also killed by a single bullet to the head from the same revolver that killed the rest of the family. So it is clear that the killer must have just stood over the family and one by one, bam, 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 execution style, that heartless man eliminated the Lou family. I don't think the members of the family were shot by different individuals. I believe it was the same individual, whether it was 3 of them, 4 of them, but it was one individual that walked over the tied up members of the family and ensured he shot them in the head, execution style, to ensure they never survived. In one report, Gleaner report, it said that Linda Lou was likely sexually assaulted. In other words, that she was raped before she was killed. You can see the cruelty, the heartlessness of these men. They broke into the house, and not only did they ransack and stole, but they also raped and killed. These are the type of men that the Bible talk about, in the last days. It makes you wonder, why is it that they had to kill the entire family? If this was a robbery, why couldn't they just take the money? They have already tied up each member of the family already. Mr. Vincent Lou and his family were harmless, defenseless, could not have put up a fight. So why couldn't they have left them alive? It appears, through my assumption, it appears that this was not just a robbery. That the killing of the entire family was a contract killing. In my assumption, somebody wanted Vincent Lou's business, which is Coronation Bakery. And they knew that if they killed Vincent Lou, then the wife, Christine Lou, would take over. If they killed Vincent Lou and Christine Lou, then Peter and Linda would eventually inherit. So I assumed that this was a contract killing to get rid of not just Mr. Vincent Lou, but all the rest of the family who would have stood in the way to inherit the business. In fact, the police surmised at the time that this was not just a robbery. I did not read anything else. And it is my assumption that the police officers at the time believed that this was a contract killing. Somebody wanted Coronation Bakery and had to wipe out Mr. Vincent Lou. Not just Mr. Vincent Lou, but his entire family also. That's my assumption. The other concern about this killing is, why is it that no one heard these gunshots? Yes, I know it was in the wee hours of Sunday morning, but why is it though that no one heard a single shot? There were 5 gunshots that night. 5 times that revolver was fired. First, it was fired to kill the family dog. The dog was barking and barking and barking, and they had to silence it. So they shot the dog in the head. And if the dog was to have a death registration form, it would have read the same way as these forms. It would have said shock and hemorrhage as a result of gunshot injury to head. So this person with the revolver was giving headshots to ensure death. Anyway, 40 years later, these homicides remained unsolved. All right, guys, so I am at the location where the Lou family was buried. On this channel, this is a familiar place, right? I am at Dovecot Memorial Park here in St. Catherine. It's a peaceful day out here today. It's a cemetery. It's supposed to be quiet and peaceful. All right, so the entire family was buried on one day, rightfully. And it was a mournful day. It was a mournful day, you know, to see an entire family so innocent lost their lives, died so early, so tragically. And it's here at Dovecot that they choose to lay the family to rest. I just imagine what the family would have been like today, especially the children. You know, whatever generation was to be created by them was all wiped out. So here at Dovecot is where you'll find the family, the Lou family. And they're right here in this section. And these are their graves. There's 4 graves that you see here. And let's start with the father, Vincent Lou. Here on his grave it says, Vincent Lou, he gave so much and demanded so little. That's a powerful little statement there. He gave so much and demanded so little. He was born on April 2, 1935, and he died September 16, 1984. So he was the father, the father, the head of the house, an owner of Coronation Bakery back then. He was said to be a very kind man. People love him in West Kingston. They look forward to see him opening up, to see the family, And even the morning when he did not open up early, people knew that something must have gone wrong, because this is a businessman. He was about business. He came to Jamaica and he started his family here. And he was a businessman. It's all about business. No time for trouble, no time for, problems. And yet, such a peaceful man, such a loved man, died so violently, one shot to the head, execution style, by some, you can't even find a word to describe, some scumbag. That's right, scumbags ended this man's life. And beside him is the grave of his wife, Christine Lou. She was called Yokfon. So this was Christine Lou. She was wife, mother, and businesswoman. And on that night that she lost her life, she had, done the typical things that mothers do. She ironed her children's clothes. It is said that there were open books on a table, which means that probably the children were studying, and she, was ensuring her children get the best opportunities in life, study hard, and she was the wife, the mother of the house, because of course they live on the same building where the bakery was. So like any mother, she ensured the children went to bed and, looking forward for the next day. When again I say those scumbag entered the building and ended her life. On her grave it says, Christine Lou Yokfon, in our hearts your memory lingers sweetly, tender, fond, and true. And it says here that she was born on February 25, 1947. And of course, all of them will share the same date of death, September 16, 1984. So she was born on February 25, 1947, and she died September 16, 1984. So here you have father and mother. Then immediately beside the parents is young Linda Lou. Linda Lou, of course, she was the youngest of the victims. She was a student of Holy Childhood High School, though I said that already. And of course, when the attackers entered the house, she was in her pajamas. And according to police, she was raped. So not only did those men come and they rob the place and ransack the place, they also raped little Linda Lou. Here on her grave it says, Linda Lou, where our sorrows and our trials like a dream will pass away. Let me read that again. Where our sorrows and our trials like a dream will pass away, and our souls shall dwell forever in the realms of endless day. And it says here that she was born October 22, 1970, and she died September 16, 1984. So this is the grave of Linda, and beside Linda is Peter. And say Peter Paul Lou. Peter, of course, and I've said it before, he was a fourth form student of St. George's College. Educated, bright young man. He was also in his pajama that night, in bed, when the tragedy happened, when they were all woken up, and, we all know what happened. They said that Peter was 16, but based on what is here, it says he was born May 1, 1969, and he died September 16, 1984. So that means he was 15 years old. And on Peter's grave it says, a gift from God so loving, sweet and kind, recalled by him, yet in our hearts enshrined. Now you're seeing it, so you can read it for yourself right there. I kind of disagreed with what is written there. Peter was not called back by God. Come on, he was murdered. Says, a gift from God so loving, sweet and kind, recalled by him, yet in our hearts enshrined. Can you imagine, 15-year-old guy, he probably was very involved in sports at his school, he has his friends. Just imagine what they felt when they heard of his death. A young man who would have probably be a businessman now, because his father was like that. and they were growing him with discipline. So if Peter had lived, no doubt he would be a big businessman today, maybe taking over the family business. But of course, he lost his life just at age 15. Peter Paul Lou. So these are the 4 graves of the 4 victims summed up as the Lou family tragedy on September 16, 1984. I did not know about this tragedy. It was one of my viewers, Ray Fair, who asked me to cover this story. I looked into it and I said, okay, let me do this story. And so I'm here. And this is the final chapter of this video. The graves of Peter Paul Lou, Linda Lou, Christine Lou, the mother of the family, and of course, Vincent Lou, the father of the family. All of them, each of them was shot in the head by the same revolver. And again, I must ask, was this a robbery or was this a contract killing? All right, guys, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, leave your comment, and I see you again in another interesting video like this.